Welcome to episode 68 of I Thought I Knew How, a podcast about knitting and life and all sorts. I'm your host, Anne Frost, and this episode was recorded on September 21st, 2021. I am back with a normal episode for you today, though it's a little late. You know how time has had no meaning for nearly 2 years now? That became an actual thing over the last week when I completely lost track of where we were on the calendar. Don't mind me. Let's get the show started and I'll tell you about it. First, let me thank Shannon, Fiona, and Deanna for coming aboard as podcast supporters over at patreon.com/I-thought-I-knew-how. Deanna, I'm not sure if you are Deanna or Dina. Fun fact, I have 2 cousins with the same spelling who pronounce it differently. So now I'm in a bit of a self-conscious trap over which way I should be saying it, but thank you nonetheless. My patrons help pay the bills for this little endeavor of mine, and they are greatly appreciated. Thank you to all of my patrons. If you'd like to support the show, hop over to ithoughtIknewhow.com and click on the link that says Be a Booster. It has links to all the ways you can help, including just leaving a 5-star rating with a kind comment anywhere you listen to the show. All right, time lost all meaning for me last week. It was the result of a lot of things all happening at once. First off, I'm still in Shetland. It has been fantastic. I came very early so I could get the content together for Shetland Day for Knit+Escape. If you are listening to this in the first few days that it's released, there's still time to take part. There is nearly 8 hours of content, and last time we spoke, I believe I was still in the middle of collecting interviews. I then spent longer than I anticipated editing everything for time. During that process, I sort of lost track of the calendar and had myself a week earlier than reality. So it was a bit of surprise when I uploaded the last file yesterday and looked at the calendar and realized I was off by a full week. Oops. So this episode is a day late as a result, possibly 2 days late by the time I have it edited, because I thought I had a whole week to get it done still. Let me tell you about what is coming up for Shetland Day, though, because it really is jam-packed. First of all, the content is available as an add-on ticket to Knit+Escape, and my understanding is that whatever ticket you get to Knit+Escape, you can add on the Shetland Day content. It's a $19.99 add-on for nearly 8 hours of content that you will have a whole week to watch. It will start with a live feed from Garths, Croft, Bressay, where Chris Dyer will talk to us about crofting in Shetland, including raising Shetland sheep, his greenhouse, other animals on the croft, and more. We aren't sure yet exactly what we will be covering that day because it will be weather dependent, so you'll have to tune in to see. My understanding is that this part of the day will be free to all Knit+Escape participants, and then the pre-recorded content that comes after is the part that's available as the add-on ticket. Next, we will have an hour-long interview with knitting teacher and designer Janette Budge, who will talk to us about using a knitting belt and the Shetland Peerie Makkers. At the end of the interview, she offers us a lesson in knitting words in Shetland dialect that we actually went and filmed at St. Ninian's Island, or St. Ninian's Isle, which is an island off the coast of sort of in the southwestern part of Shetland. But it's not really an island because it's connected with what's called a sand tombolo, which is a beach, a line of beach that goes from the mainland to the island and has ocean on both sides. And it's a gorgeous spot in general. Then, after Janette's interview, I have a presentation about the history of Shetland Wool Week, including some information to help you if you'd like to travel up for it next year. I am already cringing about that because I know I got 2 things wrong. First of all, I said there were 2 rental car companies on the island. There are more than 2. And the second thing I said was that the luggage limit, if you're getting up to Shetland by plane, is 21 kilos per bag. And that's not correct. It's 25 is the maximum, 25 kilos. So I apologize. I'm already kicking myself. Please forgive me. Anyway, that is followed by an interview with Oliver Henry, who has been grading and sorting fleeces for Jamieson and Smith for well over 50 years. He talks about what makes Shetland wool unique and how they categorize the fleece based on quality, and then what the various quality fleeces are used for. After that, there's an interview with Wendy Inkster from Burra Bears, who talks about turning wool garments into memory bears. They are adorable. And I think that those of you who sew as well will be especially interested in her interview. Then we have an interview with Louise Grains and Catherine Jamieson from Jamiesons of Shetland. This was actually a lot of fun to film. Like, the background, being there and talking to them was just a lot of fun. But they will talk about the company history and the mill it operates in Sandnes, which is the only wool mill remaining in Shetland. We then visit Cecil Tait from Paperwork Furniture to see some of the beautiful wooden tools he creates for knitters before he walks us through whittling our own wooden brooch, which may sound intimidating and undoable, but the only power tools he uses are used for speed purposes, and you can easily replace them with manual tools, and you can safely complete a brooch for yourself or a gift for someone else with his instructions. Then we have a lesson from Barbara Cheyne. Now, Barbara is the woman I learned to steek from, and she lays everything out in this lesson for you. That said, Barbara and I had a really nice chat before we started recording her lesson, but because of time restrictions, I had to cut that whole conversation out of the video for Knit and Escape. So if you stay tuned to the whole episode, you will get to hear that conversation. So a little exclusive for you all. Following Barbara's lesson, we have a sit down with Wilma Malcolmson, who has been the Wool Week patron for 2020 and 2021. She will talk to us about how Shetland Designer came to be, that's her knitwear company, and share some tips on choosing colors for our Fair Isle projects. I mean, how many times have you fallen in love with a colorwork pattern, but the colors don't suit you, and so you just pass on it? Shake that off. Let's talk about finding color inspiration that you can apply to the patterns you admire. After Wilma is a chat with Hazel Tindall about some of the knitting history here in Shetland, including how she got the title of World's Fastest Knitter along with the demonstration. And we wrap it all up with a lesson from designer Alison Rendall on how to knit a traditional Fair Isle cuff. We also talk about what it was like for her to take the leap into recording her designs as patterns. It's much more of a leap than people realize, I think. As you can imagine, it was a dream getting to speak with all these folks and get their skills and knowledge on film for you. I cannot bring you any of that content on the podcast. If you want to see it, you have to purchase the Shetland Day add-on through Knit and Escape. I think it's an incredible value for the amount of information contained in the content, so do check it out at knitandescape.com. We are going to have a song because it's time to have a song. This is perhaps the jauntiest breakup song I have ever heard. This is It's Over by Stuart Moore. See you on the other side.
It's time to walk away. When it's
Despite all the interviewing and editing, I did finish a project while I was here. It's called the Alexandria Capelet, and it was designed by a woman named Mandy Moore, who lives here in Shetland. You're going to hear more from her in the next episode, but I wanted to tell you about this project because I really seriously love it. The bottom of the capelet is a Shetland lace pattern that is very easily memorized and simple to knit. You know from way back in June when we had a whole episode about Shetland lace that is typical of Shetland lace patterns. The lace section is knit in 1 and 2 row color repeats, and you work the colors in the same order every time, but the repeats shift so that sometimes you may knit that color in 1 row and sometimes you might knit it in 2 rows. So you end up with multicolored waves that travel around your arms and torso. And when you finish that lace section, you switch to knitting rib, which decreases a few times as you get to the neck opening. So there is some shaping involved, but nothing complicated. And when you're done, the ribbing shapes over your shoulders and just to the start of your arms where the lacy waves take over to about your elbows. I will admit that I was a little nervous as I was going along because I'm a little broad-shouldered and a little busty, and I was worried that the capelet would emphasize those aspects of my physique more than I was comfortable with. But having got it off the needles and blocked, you guys, I'm so in love with this thing. It fits really well. It's flatteringly clingy, and sorry, I'm going to talk about my chest, but because the colored patterning goes over the bust area, even though that's where it clings, it sort of camouflages it to the eye, if that makes sense. My only sadness about this pattern is that it doesn't go up to the neck, at least in the size large, which is what I knit. And as someone who is always cold, I need to have something on my neck at this time of year when I go outside. I actually like the neck opening. The reason why I'm sad that it doesn't go all the way up to my neck is because it's going into fall and it's getting cold. And like I said, I'm an always cold person. So for now, it's inside wear. When I get back to the States, I suspect there will still be some autumn days when it will still be not as windy and the sun will be out that I'll be able to wear it outside for a while before winter kicks in for real. My one tip, if you decide to knit this pattern, I am someone who still has a hard time knotting my knitting. And so when I worked the color changes, as I said, the colors change every 1 or 2 rows. And so you can imagine if you are paranoid about knotting as you do color changes, the old color to the new color, you're just going to get a gap along that color change area. So I still didn't start knotting it. That would have been the easiest solution, would be to just tie the old color to the new color and then go back and untie them and weave in the colors. But what I ended up doing was when I got about 4 inches of it done, I just stopped what I was doing and wove the ends in and then carried on knitting. And then when I had, another 3 inches or so done, I wove in ends again. The good thing about that was that there are quite a few ends to weave in with this project, but when I was done, I was done. I had the tail to weave in and all the other weaving in had been done. So, not the end of the world, and it actually was quite nice to be able to get it blocked and on my shoulders pretty quickly once it was finished. I am already debating what colors I'm going to use for the next one. The one I just finished has a sort of a stereotypically green shade as the main color, with white, rose, black, and brown shades in the lace section. Mandy knit hers in Shetland wool, which is what I use for mine too, but I think any wool that will hold its shape after blocking will work. I know I have a metric ton of blue shades in Shetland wool at home in my stash, but honestly, I don't know if I want one in blue. Her original pattern, sample that she knit for her sister, who's Alexandria, who the capelet's named after, has yellow as the main color with shades of orange and brown and white in the lace section, and it's gorgeous. I am not a yellow person, though. I could do that for my daughter. I don't think I could get away with it. Every color has a hue or a tone that's going to look good on someone. I just am not comfortable in yellow for whatever reason. Even if it's like a yellow that suits me, I'm just like, it's not for me. So even though like looking at the picture on the pattern, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's gorgeous. I think if I were to use those colors, I would opt for like one of the brown shades as the main color that goes over the shoulders. I don't know. I honestly don't know what I want to do with this one because I know I want more and I love them. I think I want one done in natural Shetland shades. I think that would be gorgeous. But I also think that this pattern lends itself well to sort of dabbling in extremes because you could easily pick a very tame, safe color for the main color over the shoulders and then play with pops of color going through the lace section. And like for those of us who sort of fear color, that would be like a good first step into brightening up our wardrobes a bit more because it would just be, you know, a row here or 2 rows there. And you could keep the rest of it pretty tame. Or you could just go crazy with it and just pick like the bright, crazy colors that you love if you are a crazy color lover. I also sort of want to try it in a worsted spun Shetland yarn too, because I feel like it would drape a little bit more than the woolen spun version. This is a real conundrum for me, what I'm going to do for the next one. And I honestly want to knit this like in 5 other versions. I recently knit another pattern by Mandy too called Print of the Wave Beanie. If you are taking part in one of the Mack and Our Way Through Shetland tours next year, then you should have had an email suggesting that you join your fellow participants in a knit along of that hat starting on October 1st. It's done in DK weight yarn and uses another traditional Shetland lace pattern. I actually have Mandy lined up to be on the next episode. She has a very interesting knitting history, and I look forward to talking to her about that and about some of her designs and sharing that all with you. So look forward to hearing from Mandy Moore next time, and go ahead and check out her Ravelry page in the meantime. I'll stick some links in the show notes. Knit New Haven is celebrating Stephen West's upcoming mystery knit along with 10% off an order of 5 skeins of fingering weight yarn now through the end of the knit along. That's what you need to do the mystery knit along. 5 skeins of fingering weight yarn. Order from Knit New Haven, you get 10% off. The cast on date is October 8th and runs to the 29th. Is this the year I take the plunge into a mystery knit along? I kind of think it might be. Do you want to join me? Check out knitnewhaven.com or find Knit New Haven on Instagram to see some of the colors that Linda has put together. Get your order in as soon as possible to take advantage of the 10% off offer. And let's do this together. This won't be like a listener knit along, but we can do it together and check each other out on Instagram. I think this is going to be the one that I actually do. I think so. It's going to start after I get home. I think this might be it. Open Farm Day at Morehouse Farm is coming up quick. There is a registration page up. It doesn't cost to come, but there is a registration page. I will link to it in the show notes. They need everyone to register for a time slot because parking will be limited. If you can, please plan to carpool with a knitting buddy. The first slot is 10 to noon, and it's good if you are just looking to shop and wander around the farm. Noon to 2 will have the photo of everyone in their Atlantis tunic, as well as a chance to hear Albrecht share the history of the farm. And the 2 to 4:30 time slot includes the attempt to beat the record for knitting in the presence of sheep. The store will be open all day, so it doesn't matter if you're coming to shop, pick any slot. Check the show notes for the link. As I said, I'm traveling again, which means I am madly in love with my clothes from Woolland again, or still. If you haven't checked them out recently, I encourage you to do so. In addition to the dresses, they now have multiple styles of leggings and shirts. This trip I'm on is like 5 weeks long, and the clothes I packed all fit in 1/4 of a suitcase. And laundry has been a breeze. That is the power of wearing wool. Remember, any purchase you make using the link in the show notes helps support the show and supports those wonderful wool producers out there. Find the link in the show notes or by visiting ithoughtIknewhow.com and clicking the link that says Be a Booster. Thanks, guys. Okay, quickly, before we get to the interview with Barbara Cheyne, I want to just go over Virtual Shetland Wool Week because there's been a bit of confusion about how it's working. There are 2 different ways to participate. Now, this is Virtual Shetland Wool Week. Knit+Escape, different beast. Go to knitandescape.com for that. This is for Shetland Wool Week, which is virtual this year. It's starting on the 25th. The way that the Virtual Shetland Wool Week has been set up is confusing a few people, so I just want to go over it really quick, and hopefully hearing the information might make it clearer. So there is the membership, and there is the annual, and there are the classes. If you buy a membership, the membership gets you access to some pre-recorded films. You'll get early access to the Makkers Market. You'll get a discount code for the merch store that's going to start on the 25th of September. That's when that one will open. And then they say they have bonus material that they're going to release through the week for members. I don't know what that is, but that's there for us. I know some of the videos that they're doing are help for Elizabeth Johnston's pattern in the Wool Week Annual, which is the gorgeous Farag cardigan that has lace and cables and can be knit with long or short sleeves. It is incredible. I want one so bad. There are also videos about regional knitting here in Shetland, color blending, weaving, a video of some of the next generation of knitters rising through the ranks who will be carrying on Shetland Wool Week into the future, and more. The basic membership covers that. That gets you all of that stuff. There's also an enhanced membership that gets you all of that, plus a copy of the Shetland Wool Week Annual sent to your home. The Shetland Wool Week Annual is what has all the patterns and articles for the year in it. You can also just buy the annual separately and not get the membership. So there's the membership that gets you all that pre-recorded material and the discount code for the merch and stuff like that. There is the annual, which is the book that would get mailed to your home that has patterns and articles in it. And then there is the enhanced membership that has both. And then additionally, there are classes. The classes can be bought without buying the membership. That's where the confusion seems to be coming in. You don't have to buy the membership to get the classes. There is a separate link for them, and the Shetland Wool Week people release tickets to them in batches. So as I'm recording this, there are still some classes available. Check the show notes for the links to all of this stuff. There are not as many classes in the Virtual Wool Week as there are in a typical Wool Week, but this is still a great opportunity to learn from the instructors here. Be sure to check it out. One more song before the interview with Barbara. This is a lovely little love song to counterbalance the breakup song from earlier. We're playing both ends of the spectrum today. This is Shine by Joe Sly featuring Laura Vance. When we come back, we'll be right into the interview with Barbara Cheyne, designer, knitter, member of the Shetland Textile Museum board, and instructor, and I'll catch up to you after that.
When it's you and me, I don't need to be anything but me. And I know it's real, but it makes me feel like I must be dreaming. When you're looking at me, I'm the star in your sky. And all that you see, the twinkling light, is for you. You make me shine, shine, shine. You make me shine, shine, shine. You were someone who came out of the blue. I wasn't even looking. When you picked me out, found me in a crowd, like I was the only. When you're looking at me, I'm the star in your sky. And all that you see, that twinkling light, is for you. You make me shine, shine, shine. You make me shine, shine, shine. You make me shine like the light in your heart, like the tip of a spark. You make me shine like the end of a star, like the light in your heart. When you look at me, I don't need to be anything but me. You make me shine, shine, shine. You make me shine, shine, shine. You make me shine like the light in your heart, like the tip of a spark. Shine. You make me shine like the edge of a star, like the light in your heart. Shine. Make me shine.
One of the things I like to do as I'm interviewing really any of the knitters I get to speak with is find out a little bit about your knitting history and how you got started with knitting.
Well, I started knitting probably when I was about 6 years old, just knitting things for the dolls. I remember a little cardigan with a 3-row pattern around the bottom, and that was quite an achievement, you know. My mother was always knitting, so that's where I learned from. And she always gave me decent yarn to work with, not old stuff or anything like that. So I was very fortunate in that I had what I would call a good start. And I progressed from there until I was about 14. Then I was knitting a pair of mittens a week, Fair Isle mittens a week to sell. Wow. And that paid me into the pictures.
Oh, nice. Got your pocket money.
Yeah, I added to my pocket money. I loved the films, so that was the incentive as well. And massively they all was sold, so that was good. That was good training for me as well, with quality control. That progressed, and then of course as I grew up and worked, I sort of didn't knit for a long time. And then when I came back to Shetland from living in Scotland, I took up knitting again and was knitting with some other ladies together, and that became sort of inadequate for income. So I was working for a while, and then now that I'm retired, I took up knitting what I would call big time. It's like a second job in my retirement. I do Fair Isle yokes and all kinds of Fair Isle, but little lace scarves as well, nothing too fancy, because I can't be bothered with I don't have a lot of patience for that. I need to get it done. So that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
And during the sort of time of coming back to Shetland and retiring, in the middle of all that, I was invited by the British Wool Marketing Board to go and demonstrate Fair Isle knitting in Japan.
Wow, when was that?
That was 1989, 90 and 91. I went three years.
Wow.
It was a real experience.
I imagine.
Yes, a big store called Mitsukoshi in Tokyo, and it was a very upmarket store. We had our uniform on, which we designed before we left, the old Shetland style uniform, with a long skirt and a white blouse and a white apron. And there was more than me that went. I was the only knitter, but there was a lady from here who went spinning as well. So the two of us were together.
And were you demonstrating that in the store?
In the store, yes. Sitting in the store, yes. With the Japanese people passing and stopping and looking. And before I went there, I knitted some just cuffs, fancy Fair Isle cuffs, so they could pick it up and touch it and feel it and look at it, because that's what we all like. It's all very well looking at something, but you need to have a bit closer. Yeah. So we did that, and it was some experience. I mean, even going from here to Japan, flying over Anchorage, and seeing Mount McKinley and all that, you know, it just opened your eyes to so much. Yeah. It's a completely different culture as well.
Right. How long would you be there each time?
Each time was 3 weeks, except the last time, which was 4 weeks.
Oh, that's a wonderful long time to be somewhere.
The 4 week time we did Osaka as well, and we were right down into the South Island at Kurumi. So it really was an experience. Yeah. I remember being in Nagasaki, because we had an escort all the time, and not so much an escort, but an interpreter who stayed with us. And in Nagasaki, which was one of the famous places during the war, or at the end of the war, I thought, I have to shake this little girl off, because I need to be here on my own for a little while. You know, it gets a bit claustrophobic. Yeah. Anyway, she was going somewhere, so I said, that's fine. And I took a taxi and went to the Glover Gardens. He's a Scotsman who was settled in Nagasaki, and saw around there and came back and went to the Peace Park. That's quite an experience as well.
It is. I've been there before. Yeah, that's a very
moving.
A very tender place to be.
Yeah. So all in all, it was an experience with a capital E.
Yeah, that really sounds amazing. That's
so
great.
I came back here and started knitting again, and old habits die hard.
Right.
And that's just where we are today.
Yeah, and I know you knit for the Shetland Textile Museum and you volunteer there. Can you tell us a little bit maybe about the mission of the Shetland Textile Museum, what they're hoping to do?
Yes, the Textile Museum evolved from the Guild of Spinners and Weavers and Knitters, and they came to realise that there was a demand for a museum because of the items that were in the collection.
Right.
Excuse me. So it was moved, it started actually in the Bird of Grimston, where we live now. It's a big old fishing station which was refurbished, the property, and it's grown from strength to strength. We have about 700 items in the collection, varying items, some really old items which are not even whole, there's holes in them, and we have quality stuff, it's exquisite. You've been there, so you know.
Yeah.
So it's a variety, and I'm a trustee of the museum there. I also go on a Wednesday to demonstrate Fair Isle knitting and help whenever we can. We have meetings and we have ideas, and we're expanding all the time. We now have a very good website which we started refurbished this year, and we're having a video done just now of the collection and the exhibition, which is up this year, called Clays, which is the Shetland word for clothes. So that's the museum part of it, and it's really very exciting. It's been a bit dull just this year because of this COVID carry-on, and we've not had our international visitors, but we've had a lot of UK visitors. It's surprising how many people have holidayed in the UK who've come to visit us, and it's been really worthwhile. Last year with the COVID, we opened for 2 months to take care of the people who had already booked for Wool Week and decided that they would still come because it was more expensive for them to cancel than not to come.
Yeah.
So we were about one of the few places open for them to come and see knitwear, and it was most appreciated by us as well that they bothered. So all in all, it's kind of a two-way street there.
Yeah. Wonderful. It is one of my favorite places to go here to see, because one of the displays are always so well done. You always have such a lovely mix of whatever it is that you're spotlighting that year. And then you really feel everything's behind glass, but you really feel like you can get close enough to actually see what you're looking at too. It's not, my daughter is studying fashion design, and the school she wants to go to has a fashion museum where everything is at least 5 feet away from you at all times, and you can't see the details. But the way that the textile museum has it set up, you really can get close and see.
And in the top, we have two floors, ground floor, first floor and second floor. And in the second floor, the very top, we have a handling collection which we open up to tours.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, well, you can get a special invitation. I'll invite you to come and see that.
Okay, excellent.
I think it's set up. Anyway, we have stuff there. You can, all sorts of things, tweed and knitting and lace, and you can handle it and have a look at it, ask questions. There's always somebody there to answer the question. And that's very valued by visitors. It's just imagine, yes.
Yeah, I imagine. And you mentioned tweed because it is the textile museum. It's not the knitting museum, so it's any fabric being made in Shetland is welcome.
There's not much crochet, but we do have some crochet items in the shop. We have a shop, of course, as well. And what museum doesn't have a shop? That's how we survive. But the tweed, yes, tweed was a big thing in after the war, and it kind of fizzled out because it was levies placed on it by the USA, and it got sort of wasn't economical anymore. Yeah. Anyway, there's a bit of a resurgence in weaving. There's a place in Yell, the island of Yell, which does a lot of weaving, a nice new studio, well worth a visit. And then there's also a lot of people that have home looms, even just tabletop looms, who do scarves and things like that. We have some of that in the shop for sale in the museum. Yeah,
that's good to know.
So it's in its infancy again. Yeah, but could come depending.
I feel like all the museums have some knitwear available, but Shetland Textile Museum, you guys definitely have the most and the best variety to choose from. Well, I love poking around in the shop there.
That's our business. That's what we are.
Yeah.
Apart from the display, the collection, part of the collection, we don't display so much every year. It's changed every year to get the display. But the shop contains items from about 40 producers in Shetland. Just cottage people like me sitting here in our home. But there's a level under which we will not accept because it's a museum. So, and mercifully, through the years, we have some top-class knitters, and we're so pleased when they come to the door and say, do you want anything? Yes, please.
Yes. Please show me.
So we're all very fortunate. We have some lovely knitters who are no longer with us, but we also have some young people coming on that we're glad to encourage and help where we can.
Yeah, that's wonderful to see. Thank you again, Barbara. I really had a great time chatting with you. It really was such a treat sitting down with everyone who was involved with Shetland Day. Do check it out over at knitandescape.com. A few more things before I go. In case you haven't noticed, I am recording under different circumstances. So this might sound echoey and a little crazy. I have a little recording corner in the kitchen set up with like pillows all around and a blanket on the table surface and stuff, but I have a feeling it's still going to be a little echoey. Please excuse me. The next episode's probably going to sound similarly, and then I should be home again. There are 2 more episodes in this series, and then I'm going to be taking some time off to regroup and rest the old noggin and pay some proper attention to life and family. I will still be on social media though, so make sure you hop into the I Thought I Knew How group on Facebook or follow I Thought I Knew How on Instagram. If you are in one of the 2022 Mackin' Our Way Through Shetland tours, there is a Facebook group for you that you can find by searching Facebook for Mackin' Our Way Through Shetland. Remember, Mackin has 2 Ks, M-A-K-K-I-N. We will be using it just to get to know each other better as we wait for the tours to arrive, so please hop on and join if you are on Facebook. I will be back in a couple of weeks, friends. Enjoy your knitting. Enjoy the changing seasons wherever you are in the world. Thank you for listening and knitting with me for a bit. If you'd like to support the show, please visit patreon.com/I-thought-I-knew-how to make a monthly pledge. You may also consider making a purchase from one of our sponsors by visiting the website I-thought-I-knew-how.com and clicking the link at the top that says Be a Booster. While you are on the site, you can also find the show notes for each episode. Thank you ever so much to my patrons, Knit New Haven and Morehouse Farm for sponsoring the podcast. Find me on my social media accounts as I Thought I Knew How, except on Twitter where it's just Thought I Knew How. The groups on various platforms are all called I Thought I Knew How Podcast. Until next time, may you be blessed with stitches that never drop, yarn without joints, and plenty of time to knit.